Over the past month, I've been selling Pokemon cards online and a little bit in person to try and tackle some debt in my personal life. So today I'd like to go over the strategies that I've done so far, the numbers breakdown in my spreadsheet, and the things that I've learned along the way. So far in terms of strategy, it is kind of as easy as it sounds. I have been buying collections and buying lots off of people for a lower percentage than what they're worth in the market. And then I'll take those collections, kind of take them into my inventory, and then I'll post them on Instagram and Twitter that I kind of treat like it's a trade show. A lot of people will tend to post like 1 or 2 cards or like a single card per slide. And I've been just taking my binder, taking pictures and posting it as if you're going up to a trade show table and trying to see what you need to complete your collection. And so far that's actually worked really well. A lot of people appreciate just seeing all the different cards that I have available so that they know that they can come back in a week. They can inquire about things right now, work on pricing. And talking about pricing, I typically will buy Pokemon cards at either 70 to 85% its value, just depending on the card, like if it's a liquid card, if it's not, and then the condition that it's in. And I'll typically sell at about 95% because I would rather undercut the market since my overhead is so low. I literally work out of a bin in my living room. So we're seeing anywhere from a 25% to 10% profit. Hello, Kingy. Oh, who's a good boy? For example, I have right here, I did purchase a lot on eBay where I actually reached out to the seller because I was going to offer him about 80% market value, but by the time eBay puts on its fees and taxes and shipping and all of that, it ends up being at like 90 to 95% value that you're paying, even though you're bidding at 80%. And we came to terms outside on Instagram, and I did end up buying the lot for 80% shipped, which I think is a very fair and good price. And he was able to move a bunch of good product, but also just a bunch of product at one time. So I bought the Giratina V Alt-Art that everybody loves. I love it. I bought it for $274, which I was able to sell actually only 10 days later for $323. After shipping, that's a $44 profit, which may not seem like a crazy amount for how much you're spending, but it does add up when you're actually selling a bunch of cards in a week. So if we take a look at the spreadsheet now, you can see right here that I have the Giratina V Alt-Art. And when I took it in on 10/7/2024. And by the way, I'm no expert at Google Sheets or anything, so I will link the description of the video where I actually got this layout from because I find it to be very helpful for any kind of eBay reselling, and I've found it very helpful for Pokemon cards in general. So it has a purchase location, which I got from a person. I was able to buy it for $274. I have it listed as a single, which I have singles, sealed, or a graded card. And date listed was 10/7. So I actually listed it on the date that I got it because I knew that I was going to do a sale that day since I was picking up, it was probably like 20 or to 25 alternate art cards and some other good like rainbows and such. And then on 10/17/2024, I was able to sell it for $323. I was able to sell it on Twitter, which actually is what most of my sales are, which we'll look at in a minute. And then I will put USPS shipping. This person who bought it actually bought 3 cards, but I will put the shipping cost onto one of the cards and the rest I'll just put 0 instead of spreading it out between all of them. It's just easier to track in my head. So even though the profit value right here is $44, you can even look at it as like 46 since it was 3 cards, about $2 per card to ship. And I find this sheet to be very helpful, very user-friendly, and it does keep a good track of what you're doing in your sales because you want to have your numbers right for when it's tax season. Also to see what you're going to pay yourself out, because speaking of strategy, I did not really realize how much I was going to be able to sell right away. And we're going to look at numbers for last month, and it's going to be considering a week off. But I was able to make so much money and I could see it, expanding even more, that I decided to actually open up an S Corp. So when we look at the numbers of how much we actually made last month, part of that is going to go to expenses of opening that up because it does cost some money. So if we come to here in the spreadsheet, I have actually a monthly look at what I've done. Now, one thing I will say for September is that if you look at the number of sales being 33, it was actually a lot more, but I wasn't exactly logging everything at first because again, I didn't realize how much I was going to sell, and I didn't realize the fact that I was going to turn it into an S Corp or into an official business. I'll just call it that. It's just I go on the S Corp route instead of the LLC route. So the average sales is a little bit skewed, but the total sales of $3,188 is pretty solid if you ask me. Now this will look cleaner in the next month's recap, but I was selling from September 9th until the end of the month with a week off because I went away for a week. And even though I did do some sales while I was there, I was just grinding away on my phone, I did not have a chance to log or ship anything out because I had no materials with it. So as you can see here in this area, we have the pre-log sales. It's a number of 1 sale because again, I just did not break anything down individually, but we did $2,196 in sales before I logged. And I will say most of it is from Twitter. And I do love how this actually breaks it down in a chart to show you that 81% of the sales were on Twitter. And again, it could be more, it could be less, but it would be right around there. We did 12.1% on Instagram. And then we have a little category of bulk sales because there are a lot of cards that I have that are worth to like $1 to $2 that it's not really worth listing the thousands of cards that I have. Rather, I could just put it into a bulk category of I bought this card for about 50 cents. I sold it for $1, and I just adjust my two sold at and bought at prices as I sell things. And then we can see from this area that I did sell most of the things from my personal collection, and that is just because I didn't have a lot of stuff on hand that I bought from people yet. I started doing that more towards the end of the month and into the month of October, but that's because I just needed to get capital from my personal collection to be able to actually buy other collections. And you can see that we ended up with a net profit of $1,280, which I would say is pretty successful. I liked it a lot. Now I am going to have to take $500 of that to open up the S Corp, but I am now able to pay myself out a third of it because as I've looked things up, that's about what you should pay yourself as a sole proprietor business owner. So I'm going to be coming home with $420 in the first month of sales and a week off. So that's only about 2 weeks of sales since I started on the 9th. And what's cool is that it isn't a fluke month because the numbers for this month is already at 1.5 times that. And I'm recording this on 10/19. And with that, I did mention that this is going towards student loans. So I actually have a larger loan that's a Parent Plus loan. It's my parents' name, but I pay it because I didn't finish the schooling. And then I have a personal student loan. So what I'm doing is I'm covering the minimum monthly payment on my parents' student loan with that money. And then the rest is being thrown towards the smaller loan that's mine. My wife and I are kind of going for a snowball method where I was going to take out the parent loan first because it is larger, but I did start this business and start this series to be able to afford a house. And technically my parents' loan does not affect my credit. So I believe that it's just going to be easier to pay the minimum on that and tackle the debt that's under my name. So we're going to have $177 going towards the minimum monthly payment on my parent loan. The rest of the math, which is about $300, is going to go to my personal loan, which is sitting at, I believe, $3,100. I can have screenshots up here because I just don't remember. Now, as for things that I've learned along this process, I have learned that a lot of people in the community are just really kind and want to kind of help you out as long as you're doing right by them. So I said that I buy between 70 and 85%. I would say that your local card shop will probably buy at about 60% because they have a lot of overhead, sometimes 50%, sometimes they'll do a little bit more, it kind of depends. And if you go to a trading card show, you're going to be expecting to be paid out at like 70%, 80% trade, which I do have a show coming up in November, and that's probably around the numbers that I'm going to stick to. But as I've been working with people online that are also trying to do the same thing as me, but they might have some more bulk sales, I try to pay them out as fairly as possible. Another thing that I've learned speaking about the Pokemon card community is that a lot of people become repeat customers as long as you treat them right. So like I said, I sell at 95% value, and not that I necessarily want to undercut the market, it does help, but I do have such low overhead that I can afford to do these things and guarantee that when you come to me, you're going to get a good deal for the things that you want. I've also learned the necessity of opening up an S Corp so that when it does come to tax season and tracking all this stuff and paying myself out, I do it properly so that at the end of the year, I don't end up screwing myself, because at the way that we're projecting, including this month, we should do about $48,000 in revenue within the next year. And that's only if things don't expand even more. It may not seem like a lot, but it is a lot when you're working out of your house and this is your side gig. And the last thing I learned that I actually started implementing just a couple of days ago is that shipping at USPS is so expensive. And that's what I use for a lot of my shipping, where you can use a website like Pirate Ship and get a discount on a lot of what you're shipping. So I would say overall, I probably wasted about $100 total between all of the sales on shipping, where now I'm starting to save a little bit, and it's actually helping me make a tiny bit more money, which is kind of like, I guess, a convenience fee of going and shipping. And also, you can't exactly predict shipping until it's there. So I usually charge $5 for shipping, and it could come out from anywhere between like $3.60 to like $4.80, plus the shipping material. So like I said, it's not like you're making money, but when shipping goes from that to over $6 plus your shipping materials, you lose a bit of money when you're only charging $5. Now, if you're interested in actually any of these sales, you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter, because like I said, I do actually post on those once a week, sometimes bi-weekly, and the link is in my description. And I hope that the insight into my business has helped you out in your business, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions and things that I could address in the future. But I appreciate you being here, and I'll catch you in the next video.